everyone, Antoinette here. Today, I'm going to talk about 7 body language mistakes that you may be making at work. And when you do these mistakes, it can affect your credibility. It can affect how you're perceived professionally. And believe me, I have made all 7 of these mistakes. I have to be really intentional to not make them. So let's get into this. The first body language gesture that you want to avoid using professionally in the workplace is shrugging your shoulders. Now, there is difference as far as how a one shoulder shrug is perceived versus a double shoulder shrug is perceived. Now, shoulder shrugging is usually the body language symbol that accompanies when you don't know something. But sometimes people will just shrug their shoulders and not say anything. A double shoulder shrug usually really does mean the person doesn't know, but it's a passive response versus saying that you don't know something and that you'll find out, and you give them a name of someone else they can talk to. The one shoulder shrug not only can mean I don't know, but it can also sometimes mean I don't care. It doesn't really matter. And in this situation, not only is it seen as a passive response, but it's also seen as I really don't care. So even if you don't know the answer to something, stay away from shrugging your shoulders. The next gesture you want to avoid is eye rolling. Now, especially in the workplace, I don't know of anybody who has not wanted to roll their eyes at one time or the other, either at their boss or the people they work with or a customer or something that is really frustrating them. However, if you're rolling your eyes at someone, then that is showing contempt directly to the other person. When you're looking at someone and you roll your eyes at them and it's intended to them, that is not going to be a bridge to solution or connection. And in another way, if you're rolling your eyes at someone else, but it's about a third party. Maybe it's about something that you've heard, or maybe you're rolling your eyes at a coworker about a customer. Really, when you do it in that situation, it is like silent gossip. So you're not saying anything, but you're gossiping with your eye roll, letting your frustrations be known about the situation. So no matter if something or someone has frustrated you, to not roll your eyes, to not be this person who is participating in silent gossip. Next, make sure whenever you are speaking at work, whether you're speaking in a small meeting or whether you are giving a presentation, to not use small gestures, close to your body gestures, such as if you're saying, I want to talk about one thing versus I want to talk about one thing. It looks more confident whenever you are making bigger gestures. Now, the rule to remember here is if you're speaking in a small environment, you don't want to make big sweeping gestures because it's too big for the room, it's too big for the group. The bigger the stage, the bigger the audience, the bigger your gestures can be because it looks more natural in those situations. But when you make all of your gestures small and super close to your body, it can be a sign that you're not confident in what you're saying. So let's say, for instance, you're in a meeting and people are raising their hands to ask a question or make a point, rather than keeping your hand right here to actually extend it a little bit away from your body. It just gives you an air of looking more confident about what you're getting ready to say. And next, this is a big one. I think especially in these days when we do so much computer work, when we're looking at our cell phones so often, is so many of us have gotten in the habit of slouching or hunching over. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing this even when I'm filming these videos, and I have to be really intentional about having good posture. But you see, when we hunch over, when we slouch, once again, just like small gestures, it makes us look small as well. So it looks like we're not as confident, it looks like we're not as sure of ourselves as whenever we sit erect and whenever we have good posture, whenever we are standing, when we're walking, and when we're sitting. And it's one of those things that in the beginning, if you're not used to it, it can feel like it's constantly work. But you can retrain your muscles. You can retrain your abdominal muscles, your shoulders to have better posture, and then it'll become natural the more you practice it. And so it becomes your new way of sitting, standing, and walking. The next body language mistake to avoid is not having good eye contact. Whether you're passing someone in the hall and you're looking at the floor, or you're giving a presentation and you're looking down at your notes, to be able to look people in the eye and give them good eye contact. It shows confidence, it shows professionalism, and it shows that you are paying attention and you're in the present. Now, if eye contact is difficult for you and you're thinking, well, then how do I look away? How do I break eye contact? If it's something that's difficult for me, I've got a video above and in the description below that will tell you how you can break eye contact with confidence. The next mistake you want to avoid is fidgeting. If you are listening to someone or you're speaking, make sure that you're not fidgeting, either playing with your hair or your jewelry or rubbing your neck. All of these signs are self-soothing signs. And although it's not going to be a conscious signal to the other person, they will feel a bit of discomfort from you. And maybe they can't put their finger on it. Maybe they're not sure if you're nervous, if you're uncomfortable, if you're distracted, or if you're not paying attention, or if your mind is on other things. So whenever you're communicating with someone, to be sure and not fidget. And this next one has to do with eye contact, but it is when your eye contact is distracted. Either you are in a meeting and you're looking up at the clock on the wall, or you're glancing at your phone, or you're glancing at your computer, or somebody is speaking to you and your eyes are darting around at your surroundings. When you look distracted, the other person feels like you're no longer engaged with them. I notice when I am on the receiving end of it, when their eye contact all at once becomes distracted, I know that I have at least periodically lost them in the conversation. And I sense that they're not paying as close attention to me as they were. And here's the thing, they may be getting all the information that I've been giving them, and maybe they're not distracted, but it all comes down to perception. How is it being perceived by the other person? And with all of these 7 body language cues, you may totally be engaged, you may feel confident. However, it all comes down to how we're perceived, because perception is the other person's reality. Like I said, I've been guilty of all of these before, and I will continue to be guilty in the future. I'm not going to get it right 100% of the time. However, self-awareness is the first step. If you know of someone who needs to see this video, I hope you'll share it, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.